Have you ever felt like you did everything right, and yet nothing's moving? You pray, you trust, you wait, still all you hear is silence. Could it be that God is quiet, not because he's absent, but because he's working? Let me share something that might change how you see the waiting. We live in a culture obsessed with speed, fast food, instant answers, 2-day delivery. So when God doesn't answer on our timeline, we panic. Why is nothing happening? Did I miss something? Did God forget me? But what if the silence isn't rejection, but refinement? You see, God's delay is never his denial. It's not a punishment, it's a process. The silence isn't empty, it's sacred. You're not being forgotten. You're being formed. You're not here by accident. I truly believe this moment is a divine appointment. Out of millions of videos, this one found you. That matters. Think about it like this. If a seed could talk, it might wonder why it's been buried, surrounded by darkness and left alone. But that seed isn't being buried to be forgotten. Yet it's being planted to grow. Habakkuk 2.3 reminds us, though the vision lingers, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. That means God's timing is never off. He's not stalling. He's staging something that requires precision. Sometimes the waiting is less about the outcome and more about who we're becoming in the process. It's in the stillness that our roots grow deep. It's in the silence that our character takes shape. What God is preparing for you requires the version of you he's still shaping. So if you're in a season where heaven seems quiet, I want you to take a deep breath and hear this. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. The I. Doors may be closed today, but that doesn't mean they're locked forever. Keep trusting. Keep showing up. Keep your heart open, because when it's time, his time, it will come, and not a second too late. If you've been waiting and wondering, drop a comment below. I'm still trusting. Let's stand together, because the silence doesn't mean it's over. It might just mean that you're closer than you think. And maybe right now you're nodding quietly, saying, okay, I get it. God's silence isn't rejection. But still, why does waiting hurt so much? It's because waiting has a way of exposing things we don't always want to face. Not just in our circumstances, but deep inside our hearts. For many of us, waiting triggers fear. Fear that we've been forgotten. Fear that we've missed our chance. Fear that everyone else is moving forward, while we're stuck in the same exact place. Have you felt that? It's like watching a race from the sidelines. Everyone else seems to be getting married, getting promoted, starting families, finding breakthroughs, and you're left, holding your breath, wondering, God, did you skip me? But what if I told you that the delay might not be punishment, or even prevention? What if it's protection? Because here's a truth most people won't tell you. Some blessings are too big to be given too soon. You might not feel it, but God is not just preparing the blessing for you. He's preparing you for the blessing. There's a quote I carry close to my heart. A blessing given too soon can crush instead of carry. Think about that for a second. We often pray for things we're not fully ready to hold. And God, in his kindness, not cruelty, delays the delivery not to deprive us but to develop us. Picture a seed. It doesn't break through the soil the moment it's planted. It goes through a process, one we never see. Under the ground, hidden from view, it's taking root. It's becoming strong enough to break through the surface when the time is right. God's word works the same way. Even when you can't see anything changing, something sacred is happening. The silence, it's not inactivity. It's incubation. And this is where Romans 8:25 comes in with a message we desperately need. But if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently. Not anxiously, not fearfully, patiently, confidently, because faith isn't real if it can't wait. If we only trust God when we see results, is that really trust? Or is that just control in disguise? Real faith means setting the table even when the meal hasn't arrived. It means building the crib even when the baby isn't born. It means speaking life over a dream that still looks dead. Waiting with faith is one of the most countercultural, courageous things you can do in today's world. Because the world tells you to hustle. But God invites you to trust. And yes, I know it's hard, I know it's exhausting. I've had seasons where it felt like I was buried under unanswered prayers, but looking back, I see how God was protecting my heart from carrying a promise I wasn't mature enough to steward. Maybe that's what He's doing for you. Maybe you're not stuck. Maybe you're being stabilized, so that when the blessing comes, you're not shaken, you're ready. Let me ask you this. Have you ever received something before you were ready and lost it just as fast? Maybe it was a job, a relationship, a platform, and now you can look back and say, yeah, I see why it didn't last. That's what God sees ahead of time. He's not just answering prayers, He's building people. That includes you. So what do we do in the waiting? We anchor ourselves in truth. We fight the lie that says delay means dismissal. We remind ourselves over and over again that not yet does not mean no. We wait with hope. We wait with purpose. And sometimes we wait while wrestling with tears in our eyes and shaking hands. But even that, yes, even that, is holy. If you're in that space today, I want you to know you're not behind. You're not late. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. God is not slow, He's strategic. And what He's preparing for you will be worth every second of the wait. So take heart, breathe deep. Keep showing up, because under the surface, where no one else can see, God is doing what only He can. And when it breaks through, it will not be late. And maybe now, after sitting in the silence and holding on through the pause, a deeper question begins to rise in your heart. What is this wait really doing to me? Because the truth is, waiting doesn't just delay our journey. It shapes who we become on the way. It reveals things we might never see in motion, and it transforms parts of us that ease and comfort never could. You see, we often think of faith as something we feel, an emotion that surges when worship music swells or when we get a yes to our prayers. But real faith isn't always glamorous. Real faith waits, not because it's easy, but because it's rooted, not because it feels good, but because it trusts what it cannot see. Faith, my friend, is not a spark. It's a muscle. And muscles don't grow in comfort. They grow under pressure. That's why James 1:3-4 tells us, the testing of your faith produces perseverance, and let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Think about that. God isn't just interested in giving you answers. He's interested in making you whole. But how can He do that if we rush through every hard moment just to get relief? We live in a world where everything is measured by speed. Success is about how fast you climb. Relationships are about instant chemistry. And even spiritual growth is often treated like a formula. But God doesn't rush fruit. He grows it, and waiting is the soil where some of the richest roots are formed. It's in the waiting that your faith matures, beyond shallow belief. It's in the waiting that your spiritual ears become more sensitive, hearing God's whispers, instead of only chasing His signs. It's in the waiting that your heart becomes ready, not just to receive, but to carry what's coming. Because, let's be honest, we're often more focused on the breakthrough than we are on the becoming. But God is always more focused on the person than the pace. And here's something to really sit with. Every delay isn't just a space where something's withheld. It's an invitation to be remade. That might mean shedding old mindsets. That might mean detoxing from the comparison we soak in daily. Because, let's face it, social media rarely tells the whole story. It's easy to scroll and believe everyone else is ahead, more blessed, more favored. But what if what looks like movement isn't growth? What if what looks like stillness is actually your soul being grounded for something deeper? That's the beauty of hidden seasons. When the world isn't watching, when no one is clapping, when progress isn't public, that's when God does His most transformational work. And honestly, that kind of growth is worth more than instant answers. Let me be vulnerable for a moment. I've had seasons where I begged God for clarity, for something to move, and nothing did. But those were the seasons when I learned to hear Him differently. Not in the thunder, but in the still, small voice. Not in the spotlight, but in the quiet places. That's where I found endurance. That's where I found identity. Not in what I achieved, but in who He said I was. And maybe that's what He's doing in you too. Because waiting isn't wasted when it's working something within. Let me ask you something. What if the version of you that emerges from this waiting season is stronger, wiser, more grounded in grace than you've ever been? What if the delays weren't setbacks, but scaffolding for your soul? And what if the thing you think you're missing is the thing God is still maturing? This is the invitation. Don't just wait for the blessing, become the person who can carry it. So let's take a breath together. We've sat in the silence. We've wrestled with the pause. We've acknowledged how waiting changes us. But now let's talk about timing. Because even if we know the wait has purpose, there's still a longing inside each of us to understand when. When will it happen? When will things finally make sense? When will the breakthrough come? It's human to ask. It's okay to wonder. But here's something we have to remember. Not everything looks beautiful right away. Some things are only beautiful in hindsight. Some blessings only make sense after the storm has passed. That's why Ecclesiastes 3:11 speaks so deeply to the soul. He has made everything beautiful in its time, not in your time, not in my time, but in His time. And that's where the tension lives, between our desire for control and God's invitation to trust. You might be looking at your life right now and thinking, this doesn't look beautiful, it looks broken. Maybe you see scattered pieces, missed opportunities, relationships that ended, doors that didn't open, prayers that haven't been answered. But what if all those fragments are part of something bigger? What if, like threads in a tapestry, the very things that seem tangled and confusing today are being woven into something sacred, something you'll one day look back on and say, ah, now I see what He was doing. Because God is not just writing your story, He's weaving it, and weaving takes time. I think of my own life, of times I begged God to hurry, to move, to give me a glimpse of what was coming. But I've learned, God doesn't operate on panic. He moves on purpose. That's why Isaiah 60:22 is such a powerful promise. When the time is right, the Lord will make it happen, not when we push, not when we stress, not when we scroll through everyone else's highlight reel and convince ourselves we're behind. When the time is right. That one sentence is both deeply comforting and deeply confronting, because it forces us to lay down our timelines. It invites us to surrender our striving, to stop thinking it's our job to force the miracle. Maybe you're in a place right now where you've been trying to make things happen, pulling strings, pushing forward, exhausting yourself, trying to create movement. But can I gently ask, what would it feel like to let go? What would it look like to stop striving and start surrendering? Because the miracle God has for you doesn't need manipulation. It needs space. It needs trust. And here's the beauty in that. When the time is right, when the season has ripened, when your heart is ready, when the pieces align in ways only God could orchestrate, you won't have to chase it. It will find you. You'll look up and realize that the thing you thought was delayed was actually being developed. And the thing you were waiting for wasn't just coming toward you, it was being shaped for you. This kind of trust doesn't come naturally. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It's quiet, steady, rooted in something deeper than circumstance. It's the kind of trust that says, I may not understand this season, but I trust the hands holding it. I may not see the full picture, but I believe the artist knows what he's doing. I'm not going to rush what God is still preparing. If you've ever watched a sunrise, you know you can't speed it up. You can't force it into existence. You just show up, you wait, and when it finally breaks, over the horizon, it's worth every second. That's what divine timing feels like. So today, maybe instead of asking, when God, we start asking, how can I trust you more in the waiting? Because that trust, it creates peace where there once was panic. It creates rest where there once was striving. It reminds us, this journey was never ours to orchestrate in the first place. He sees the whole canvas. We only see brushstrokes, so take a deep breath. You're not behind, you're not forgotten, you're in process. And He's on time. And when the time is right, He will make it happen. So if you've made it this far, you've walked with me through the silence, through the pause, through the pressure of waiting. You've held on to the truth that God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't feel like it. But now we come to something sacred, something that anchors us when nothing else seems to. Prayer. Let's be honest. Sometimes we only think of prayer as a request form, a hotline for emergencies, a tool to move heaven when we're desperate. But what if prayer is less about changing our situation and more about changing us? What if prayer in the waiting isn't just a cry for help, but a quiet declaration of trust? You see, we don't pray while we wait because we're strong. We pray because we're tired, because we're worn down from trying to carry promises with arms too weary to hold them, because we finally realized we were never meant to carry it all on our own. Prayer in the waiting is not weakness, it's worship. It's saying, God, I still believe you're good, even when it doesn't look like it right now. It's saying, I don't have the answers, but I know who does. It's the sound of surrender, not defeat. And maybe today your prayer doesn't sound polished. Maybe it's just a sigh, a whisper, a wordless ache. That still counts. Because God doesn't measure our prayers by how eloquent they are. He measures them by where they come from. He listens to the honest ones, the raw ones, the tired ones. And He responds not on our schedule, but with His strength. So what do we pray while we wait? We don't just pray for the outcome. We pray for the becoming. God, help me wait well. That simple prayer might be the bravest thing you say today. Give me patience when my timeline screams to move. Give me discernment so I don't run ahead of you. Give me humility so I don't mistake silence for absence. Because here's the truth. God is not slow. He's precise. He's preparing you to carry what you've been called to receive. If He gave you the promise now, would you have the strength to hold it, the wisdom to protect it, the character to carry it without letting it crush you? Sometimes the waiting is the training, and prayer, real, honest, daily prayer, is the weightlifting of the Spirit. I remember a season in my life where all I had was prayer. I couldn't see progress, couldn't feel momentum, but every morning I'd whisper the same words, God, I trust you even in this. And even though my circumstances didn't shift right away, something inside me did. I became steady. I became aware. I became someone who wasn't just waiting for the promise. I was being prepared to carry it. Prayer did that. So maybe today you don't need a perfect plan. Maybe you just need a quiet place to pray. A corner of your day where you pause and say, God, I'm here, still waiting, still trusting, still believing. Let prayer be your posture in the waiting. Let it be the space where your spirit exhales the pressure. Let it be the place where God meets you, not with fast answers, but with deep peace, because He is meeting you there. And if you felt like your prayers are hitting the ceiling, remember, seeds don't sprout the moment they're buried. But that doesn't mean nothing's happening. Underneath what you can't see, He's preparing the roots. He's building the foundation. He's aligning every detail. So yes, keep praying for the miracle, but also pray for the maturity to carry it. Don't just ask God to open the door. Ask Him to make you ready to walk through it. And if your voice shakes while you pray, that's okay. He hears you anyway. So today I want to invite you to pause for just a moment, wherever you are, however you feel. Let this moment be holy ground. Whisper a simple prayer. Lord, teach me to wait well. That's it. That's enough. And when the time is right, you'll look back and realize that the waiting wasn't a delay. It was a gift. So maybe by now your heart feels a little lighter. Maybe you've started to realize that this season of waiting isn't punishment. It's preparation. That your prayers haven't disappeared into the void. They're working, even in silence. That God hasn't forgotten you. He's forming something deeper. But let me be real with you for a moment. This message isn't just theory for me. It's personal. I've walked through this valley. I know what it feels like to sit in the quiet asking God, where are you? Did I miss something? Did you forget about me? There were nights I cried until there were no more tears. Mornings where I woke up dreading another day of unanswered prayers. Seasons where it seemed like everyone else was getting their breakthrough, while I was stuck in what felt like holy stillness. But can I tell you something I only see clearly now? God was never still. He was building a foundation. He wasn't ignoring me. He was insulating me. He wasn't delaying things to hurt me. He was strengthening me to hold what I had asked for. And now looking back, I wouldn't trade those quiet seasons for anything. because it was in the stillness that I found my true strength, not in the outcome, but in Him. Maybe you felt something similar. Maybe you've whispered those same words into your pillow. God, did you forget about me? And if you have, hear this, you are not weak for wondering, you're human, and you are seen. So today, I want to pass that moment back to you. I want to invite you to pause and reflect. On your own journey, what are you still trusting God for? Maybe it's healing. Maybe it's restoration in a relationship. Maybe it's a dream that feels buried. Maybe it's clarity in your calling or peace in your mind. Whatever it is, write it down. Not because writing changes the outcome, but because writing is a declaration of faith. It's saying, I still believe. It's reminding your heart that just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. It's refusing to confuse delay with denial, because your promise is still alive. It might be quiet right now. It might be hidden beneath layers of doubt and time, but God is still writing your story. And sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is to keep trusting in the dark. Every day you choose faith over fear. Every time you worship instead of worry. Every moment you show up when it would be easier to give up, heaven notices. God sees your endurance. He honors your faith. He strengthens your spirit. And listen, I know this waiting season may not feel productive. It may feel like standing still while the rest of the world spins forward. But don't underestimate what God is doing beneath the surface. Remember what we said earlier. A seed doesn't sprout the day it's planted. But in the hidden places, roots are growing, foundations are forming. So here's my challenge to you. Declare your faith today, out loud, in writing, in prayer. Speak life into the promise that seems quiet. Say, God, I'm still believing. Say it with tears in your eyes if you have to. Say it with shaking hands, but say it, and don't stop there. Share it. Someone you know might be in their own season of waiting, and maybe your words, the ones born from your own quiet fight, are exactly what they need to hear to keep going one more day. You don't need a perfect story to encourage someone. You just need a real one, because this isn't just about breakthrough. It's about becoming. So keep walking, keep praying, keep showing up, not because it's easy, but because you know that God is faithful. He didn't bring you this far to leave you here. He's not just the God of the outcome. He's the God of the in-between. So even if you can't see the full picture today, let today be the day you hold on tighter, to hope, to peace, to trust. You are not waiting alone. We're standing with you, and more importantly, heaven is moving for you. So take a breath, lift your eyes, and remember, your story isn't over, not even close. So here we are. We've walked through the silence. We've wrestled with the pause. We've leaned into the waiting. We've seen how God shapes us when we feel forgotten, how He prepares us before He promotes us, and how prayer anchors us through it all. And now, this is where we breathe. This is where we remind our hearts of what's always been true. Even when we couldn't feel it, God's timing is perfect. Not sometimes, not occasionally, always. And even though it's hard to grasp in the middle of our unanswered prayers, we must hold on to this sacred truth. He's never late. I know you've probably heard that before, but sometimes we need to hear it again, not just with our ears, but with our spirit. Because when you're in the thick of the wait, when the delay feels like denial, when everyone else's story seems to be moving faster than yours, that's when this truth becomes your lifeline. Your waiting is not wasted. It is woven with divine timing. And listen, this is not just a cute phrase to get us through the hard days. It's the kind of truth you plant deep in your soul and water with tears. It's what keeps you standing when everything else feels shaky. It's what allows you to keep showing up, even when the answers are still unseen. You see, trusting God's timing isn't passive. It doesn't mean sitting still with folded arms. It means leaning in with open hands. It means waking up each day and choosing hope again, choosing to believe that God's silence isn't absence, that His delay isn't disinterest. It's divine. He's not ignoring you. He's orchestrating something beautiful, something that's going to arrive exactly when it should, and when it does, it won't feel rushed. It won't feel forced. It won't leave you questioning if it was God or just coincidence. No, when the time is right, it will be undeniable. You'll look back and realize the tears had a purpose. The silence wasn't empty. The delay protected you from arriving. Too soon, and maybe even more importantly, you'll realize you've changed. You're stronger, quieter in spirit, richer in character. Your roots go deep because you allowed God to plant you before He promoted you. So today, don't give up. Don't let the waiting wear you down. Let it remind you of something bigger, that you serve a God who's not limited by clocks or calendars, a God who sees the full picture, a God who loves you enough to say not yet when the timing isn't right. Let that truth settle deep in your bones. And then, declare it. Right now, in the comments, write these 3 simple words: I'm still believing. Write it not just for yourself, but for someone else who might be scrolling through the comments, looking for a reason to hope again. Let your words be a seed. Let your declaration spark faith in someone else's heart. And if you feel led, share this message with a friend who's waiting too, because we don't walk through this alone. We wait together. We believe together. We stand in faith together. That's what this space is. A sacred pause, a resting place for weary hearts, a reminder that even if you're still in the middle, the author of your story is still writing, and He finishes everything He starts, so take heart. You are seen, you are not behind, you are not overlooked. You are right on time in the hands of a God who is never late, and when the time is right, He will make it happen. That's not just a promise. It's a guarantee from the one who holds all time in His hands. So breathe, rest, keep walking, keep praying, and above all, keep believing.